Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out this headline. Could XRP Ledger help in a black swan cyber attack? We're going to hear from Michael S Barr. XRP Ledger equals the ripple effect? Let's roll that beautiful intro and find out.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content. Right now, $1.11 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is off by 1.9%. 27,400 plus for Bitcoin at the moment. 1,500 plus for Ethereum. Tether market cap is 83.4 billion. It wants to be 83.5 billion, but we don't know how the government feels about Tether, but we're going to find out some point in the future. I can bet you that. XRP Ledger's 49 cents, or XRP token is 49 cents. It's off by 3.7 in the 24-hour and just as much on the 7-day. If that tells you what you need to know right there, let me tell you about this. I need everybody to do a call to action. I don't often ask this, and I'm asking it today. I told Andy Sheckman from Miles Franklin that I was going to have all my audience reach out and call him because I know that this is the best audience, and I know that the current times and the news we're about to look at says we all want to own some physical gold. This is the best place to do it with the best prices. I have already bought gold from Miles Franklin, and I am loving it, and I'm about to get more and silver too. If you want the best prices for overspot, this is the place to get it. This is a remarkable opportunity, but I'm asking all of you to do me a favor. Not just for yourself, do it for me too. I'm asking. I don't ask very often. Call the number underneath this video and tell everybody you talk to there, Dig Gold, D-I-G Gold. Tell them Brad Kimes sent you, and we couldn't be happier to make the connection for you because take a look at this news. Call that number and tell them that Brad Kimes sent you. Dig Gold is the code to use. Look at this. We see attacks happening on the other side of the world here. I'm not going to say it because we know how social media can be, right? And it sparks interest in gold, cryptocurrencies, and safe haven assets. This is why I'm telling you about Miles Franklin and the current moment we're in with the financial system and the geopolitical events that we're seeing. And right here, here's more evidence of why I want to own as much gold as I can right now. Breaking, U.S. military will be moving U.S. Navy ships and aircraft close to Israel in response to the attacks that took place, right? Now, I don't know what else we need to see, but let me tell you this. We're getting ready to hear here from Michael S. Barr, the VP, Federal Board of Governors, former Ripple advisor, former U.S. Treasury member, former architect of Dodd-Frank, which gave birth to the Financial Stability Oversight Council, which we talk about as FSOC all the time. Okay, so there's the connection here. I want you to hear this clip because you need to hear this where we hear about the idea of how cyber attacks could happen on banking system. And we just saw, as I showed you a few weeks ago, there was a casino out in Vegas, and thank God they've recovered fully at this point, but they were damaged and harmed for about 10 days, I guess it was, around 2-week period where they were really shut down from a cyber attack. And I made the point then, and I'm making it now. Think about that. This is why I'm telling you, I want to own gold as much as I want to own crypto, because when I see that happen out there, I know casinos are very hard to break into, right? And it looked like a test to me of what may happen to the banking system. And I tell you what, this gives credence that we might not be the only ones thinking about it. Take a listen to the Vice President of the Federal Board of Governors saying it too.
7, 6.
That we are offering to members of Barr. Vice Chair Barr joined the board about 14 months ago, and prior to that, he had extensive policymaking and experience, and also in the academia. Thank you, Vice Chair Barr, for joining us today.
It's my pleasure to be here, Lisa.
And cyber risk is obviously a big topic, and a lot of people are actually talking about the cyber risk. And I think cyber risk has been on top of many people's high-risk list for a number of years. And I know you've also given a lot of thoughts about the cyber risk. So how big a risk is cyber risk in your view?
Listen.
Well, it is a top risk, a top priority for the banking sector. I think that experts agree that we need to work together, both the public sector and the private sector, domestically and internationally, to make sure we tackle issues around cyber risk. The risks are ever evolving. The technology changes, the techniques change. We have very sophisticated state actors involved and groups affiliated with nation states. And there's a range of activities from very sophisticated threats to phishing and ransomware. And of course, insider threat remains an important risk to be attentive to. And so we really need banks to make the commitment they need and the investments they need to stay ahead of these changes and to invest not only in prevention, which is absolutely critical, but also in the resiliency you need to recover if an attack is successful.
Now listen to this clip.
Financial system.
Well, first of all, Lisa, I think you're absolutely right. When you think about cyber risk, there are two kinds of risks or costs to the system. There's the direct cost. There's a problem, an incursion. You need to address the incursion. You need to put a patch in place. Those are relatively modest costs in the scheme of things. But the real big risks and costs are the interconnectedness risks that you described. So
The interconnectedness that you described between different banks, right?
if you think about, our financial system is really tightly interwoven. And if we have a really bad cyber attack at a major institution, that can have ripple effects throughout the financial system. It could be through the payment system channel. It could be through liquidity provision channels. And so those ripple effects can be very, very large. If a bank has to cut itself off in order to protect the rest of the system from a cyber attack, that cutting off has ripple effects that could cause bank failures. And so we really need to be super attentive, not just to the immediate risks of a cyber attack, but to these potential ripple effects because of the tightly interconnected nature of the financial system.
That is extremely powerful, understanding where Michael S. Barr comes from, what we've seen in recent events, combined with the geopolitical events that are happening right now, knowing that there was a threat from Russia in the early days of the conflict that jumped off over in Ukraine, that they were going to retaliate with cyber attacks against the banking system. And the Vice President of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors here telling you it is a top priority because we know that the payment system is antiquated and vulnerable, and nobody knows it better than this guy right here as well. Now let's look at this. Okay, so now I set this clip up. Now, former Ripple advisor Michael S. Barr tells you what he tells you about attacks and risk and all of these things, the ripple effect that could happen. And here's Brianna Madigan talking about being able to deal with resilience and a systemic event. Listen to this.
This key attribute of a healthy liquid market is really resilience, and that is getting at the ability for a market to recover from a significant systemic event. So if there was some sort of a market shock, the ability for order books to get back to normality and tighten back to similar prices to where they were prior to that event relatively quickly. And so all of those attributes are very important to a healthy liquid market.
No doubt about it, and well said from Brianna Madigan there. XRP Global Markets, Brianna Madigan, by the way, if you're not aware. This was said about 3 years ago or so, but it is just as powerful, if not more powerful today, because take a look at this. What could help with a systemic event? What could help with a cyber attack in the banking or financial system? Maybe the XRP ledger, because it has closed 80 million ledgers in approximately 10 and a half years without error or issue. Isn't this what we're talking about? Isn't this what we're talking about? I know it's what I'm talking about, and it's certainly what I'm focused on. And understanding here that there's even more hanging over the head of all of us and the economy. U.S. dollar collapse, shock 8 trillion, predicted. Fed inflation flip to spark a critical Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and crypto price boom to rival gold, they're saying. So between gold as a hedge and between crypto as the place things will go to for a solution potentially of some kind of cyber attack, or just to deal with the antiquated, vulnerable system at hand. It doesn't even really have to be a black swan event, which could be coming. Why is it a top priority for Michael S. Barr and the Federal Reserve? That's the question. And then all of this, if we're talking about making a transition to a new system, albeit from a catalyst like a black swan event, or just through the natural organic growth of moving to a new system because of it being antiquated and vulnerable, aren't we looking at a global reset being quite likely? Well, Clive Thompson thinks so. Take a listen.
Quite likely that if we have a reset, to avoid the risk that there are some parties who are out of pocket in such a way that they can't pay the bills and can't eat, it's quite likely that it will come with some sort of universal basic income, at least in the initial stages. And probably when they kickstart the currency, they'll want to get it widely distributed, the CBDC, after a reset. So it's quite likely that everybody would get some sort of boost to their CBDC wallet to make sure that there's enough currency in circulation, if the only currency in circulation, or the only one which can be used, is now the CBDC. So I do think that would be accompanied by an expansion of the CBDC money supply to cope with the unfortunate cases of people who have lost money.
And doesn't it make sense that if there was some kind of a systemic event or a black swan or cyber attack, God forbid, that they would use the CBDCs? Look, what's the adage? What's the old saying? Rahm Emanuel said it back in the day, never let a good crisis go to waste. And if we have another one, and it feels like in some degree daily there's a new crisis popping up all around the world in many different places, we have to try to be as prepared as we possibly can. And that's what this show is about today. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. You got to take a look at what's going on around here. It's not all about just crypto and our portfolios. For me, it starts with how can I position myself to make sure that I'm taking care of my family long term. Yes, I want to win. I want to see everybody win. But in order to do so, I think we really have to start factoring in all of the things that are happening on a macroeconomic level, the money printing, the global geopolitical events taking place, and what's happening inside of the traditional crypto space and the traditional markets themselves. That's how we're going to get the best edge. And all of us will come up with a different answer, and that's the beautiful part of that. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.